In our first story, the police are on a manhunt for two officials of the National Identification Authority for illegally registering some persons in a private residence at Kaneshie here in Accra. The Kaneshie police are currently investigating the matter, but it's already been confirmed that equipment and registration materials retrieved Tuesday night are the property of the National Identification Authority. At least two Nigerians who attempted to secure Ghana cards have also been declared wanted in a separate case. Joining us is Matilda Vamega has some details.
The Kaneshie police first got a hint of the illegal Ghana card registration on Tuesday at about 9:20 p.m. The private residence close to the St. Teresa Catholic School was raided by the police, and the items seized include fingerprint machines, laptop, a scanner and printer. The police interrogated the landlady of the house where the items were retrieved. National organizer of the NDC, Joshua Kamba, together with some NDC members who filed the complaints following the police raid, explained the reason for bringing in the police.
A woman that I'm told is aspiring to be an assembly member, who is actually...
Who exactly is this woman?
He's called Gifty Barton, who herself is aspiring to be a member, actually aided them and gave an accommodation to them to stay and register. You know that the NIA...
Stay and register where?
In the bedroom and the kitchen. I mean, the woman did confirm that, as even the printing machine was set up in the kitchen. That was set up in the kitchen. In the bedroom, our branch executive actually moved to the bedroom to pull these machines out.
So it wasn't even in the compound of the house?
No, not in the compound, in the kitchen, in the bedroom. And the woman just confirmed it to us. Now, we have the NIA officer, the district officer himself, who seems not to have idea of where the machine was gotten from.
The Kaneshie Divisional Police Commander, ACP Edward Fachik Kumi, says they are still searching for the NIA officials involved in the matter.
The two NIA officials who were reported to be staying in the house, they were not met. The landlord was met, and then she was invited to report to the police this morning. This morning she reported, and we've interviewed her as to what actually was going on in the house. We've also spoken extensively with the complainants who reported the case. We've spoken to the district EC official responsible for the area, and we are yet to get the two NIA officials who were staying in the house. So for now, the case is under investigations. This is just the preliminary stage of it. As you are aware, it happened just yesterday in the night, and this morning we've made a follow-up to the house. We've spoken to the complainants.
In a related development, the police has granted bail to an NIA official who was arrested for illegally registering two Nigerians for 60 Ghana cedis. The data input official of NIA was arrested at Bosokai during the ongoing NIA registration on Monday.
On Monday, the supervisor at Abosukai area responsible for the registration of the ID card also brought in one of their workers, one Timothy Wuni, and according to her attention was drawn by some bystanders that that young man was trying to register some foreigners. So she brought him in, and then he was also cautioned, and statements were taken from him. Yesterday, he led us to arrest the commissioner of oath responsible for the area, who endorsed the form as one of the requirements. And that commissioner of oath is also in custody. But because of the 48-hour rule, the young man who was arrested on Monday, he was granted bail this morning.
The police is currently looking for the 2 Nigerians involved in this case. For Joy News, Matilda Pamaga, Accra.
Meanwhile, the National Identification Authority says it will not shield any official who commits any illegality in the ongoing registration. Head of Communications Francis Palme Deti, who has been responding to the arrest and seizure of the registration equipment, says the NIA has not authorized the issuance of Ghana cards from any private residence and that the activity undertaken by the 2 officials currently on the run is illegal. He called on the public to alert the NIA of any suspicious activities they come across during the registration process.
With respect to the incidents that happened yesterday and the report about our official being arrested or in the custody of the police regarding an attempt to register a foreigner, that we are displeased about, and we frown on any kind of criminal act conducted either by our staff or by members of the public. So in this particular case, the said individual, who is an MRW operator, was had taken some forms to fill, and with the intent of registering some Nigerians, not Nigerians, but Nigerians. And the officer who supervises the center, we usually call them the CRO, showed up and realized that what he was doing was against the law. So she alerted the police and he was arrested. We have sent these individuals into training. We've trained them on the conduct which is expected of them as registration officials or officials representing the authority. And one thing we let them understand is that no kind of criminal act will be tolerated by the authority. So it doesn't matter whether you work for us.
He explains foreigners with residence permits are not part of the nationwide mass registration exercise and that they would have to visit NIA offices for their special identification cards.
NIA started registering foreigners as far back as 2012. And we call it the FIMS project, Foreigner Identification Management System project. Now, what happens is foreigners who come into this country and stay for a cumulative period of 90 days and above are to be registered and issued with a card. The card we issue, we call the Ghana card, but boldly written on the face of the card is non-citizen in red. Those are the cards issued to foreigners, and they pay $120 for the card in the first instance or in the first year. Subsequent renewals, you pay $60. So that has been going on since 2012.
And it's ongoing at the moment.
So foreigners are supposed to go for that card, not the Ghana card. Okay. So the exercise we are currently conducting, which is a mass registration exercise, is for Ghanaians only. Okay. And currently we are focused on persons 15 years and above. Next year, when we are done with this category of persons, we'll move into those who are 14 years and below. And their registration will start next year.
Still on national identification, the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, has accused government of being behind what it describes as a secret registration of individuals for the Ghana card. Addressing the media at its headquarters, Deputy General Secretary Peter Otukono alleged the daughter of a close confidant of President Akufo-Addo, who has expressed interest in the Kankwe North constituency seat in the 2020 elections, is directly behind the exercise.
Now we are being ushered into a new realm of another Akufo-Addo's of pretended irregularities, where the NIA's ongoing registration exercise has been hit with a massive fraud, irregularities, and wanton abuse of the process. It was detected and reported that some officials of the NIA were illegally registering some applicants who are perceived to be MPP members in a house apparently owned by an MPP member in Awudomi, near St. Teresa School at North Carnation. This registration exercise was being done after registration hours, around 8 p.m., 3 clear hours after the close of registration. They were busted by some vigilant members of the community who had observed the suspicious activities for some time before deciding to confront the personnel involved in this malpractice. It has also been alleged that the daughter of Victor Newman a presidential staffer and a close confidant of President Akufo-Addo, who is interested in contesting for Okankwe South parliamentary candidature, is behind these operations and has been acting through one Gifty Boateng, who is the landlord of the house where the exercise was being undertaken. We hold the belief also that the MPP are applying two-pronged approach in this operation. Firstly, by the elimination of the voter ID card as a document to be used in the registration exercise, thereby disenfranchising a lot of grassroots voters who constitute the bulk of the support base of the NDC. Secondly, they are engaged in a secret and unlawful registration of MPP members at the blind side of everybody in order to increase the numerical strength of the MPP members who hold the Ghana card for the purposes of registering them as voters for the 2020 elections.
He also criticized the registration process. He says it's fraught with illegal ties and irregularities.
We have also received numerous reports from various registration centers of widespread irregularities and deliberate prevention of some groups of people who are perceived to be NDC members from registering. We take particular notice of areas such as Akwetema, Abosokan, Mataeko, Weja, Gbawe, etc., where the MPP are collaborating with registration officials to frustrate the process. In some cases, applicants are made to fill the form and they are asked to go home and come 3 days later for their biometrics to be taken. Who does this? The question to ask is, why is the MPP doing what it is doing? For us in the NDC, we believe that there is a sinister motive behind these happenings.
Now, the party nonetheless urged its members to fully participate and monitor the registration process. Peter Otukono said even though it remains opposed to the non-inclusion of the voter's ID as a primary identification document, it will be necessary for its members to register in order not to be disenfranchised and also monitor the process.
The NDC remains completely opposed to this obnoxious tactics of non-inclusion of the voter ID card as a primary identification document for the registration. This is a matter a civil society organization called Strategic Thinkers Network Africa, STRANEC, has sent to the Supreme Court for determination. We shall be keenly following the proceedings to the latter as a result of the revelations that we have and the widespread politically motivated irregularities and malpractices. The NDC wishes to encourage its entire membership and the entire teaming supporters to fully participate.
We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime, but still ahead, former President John Mahama has also lashed out at the governing MPP over what he says it's desperation to persecute the NDC national chairman, even as the police CID invites Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo in connection with recent kidnappings and fire outbreaks.
No amount of harassment of our national chairman will save the MPP from defeat. Indeed, it is a sign of desperation.
Stay tuned in. We'll be back in a bit. Former President John Mahama on Wednesday toured some parts of Accra to thank NDC members for electing him as flag bearer. Speaking at Jamestown, the former president described as a sign of desperation on the part of the governing New Patriotic Party a case pending before the court against the NDC party chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. He described as frivolous ongoing investigations into claims the party chairman made some statements inciting violence in a leaked audio recording.
No amount of harassment of our national chairman will save the MPP from defeat. Indeed, it is a sign of desperation. It is a sign of desperation that the chief, it is a sign of desperation that the chief executive of our party, the chairman of our party, is constantly being harassed by the police authorities. But let them remember that they are setting a precedent. Let them remember that in everything they do, they are setting a precedent. You cannot take any frivolous and vexatious investigation and be inviting the national chairman of the biggest opposition party every day to the CID headquarters on very useless allegations. We are advising the NPP. If you deliver on your promises, the people of Ghana will look favorably at you. But if you have failed, don't, out of your desperation, decide to harass our party officials. Whatever you do, you cannot escape the judgment of the people. And on 7th December 2020, the people of Ghana are going to decide, no matter what harassment you subject our people to.
Well, staying with that story, he says the NDC will make life better for fishermen when the party is voted into power in the 2020 election.
Assure the chief fishermen and the chiefs gathered here that NDC is coming back after the 2020 elections. And I want to assure them that all those wonderful arrangements that we had for the fishing industry, when we come, we'll restore them and we'll make life better for them. We had a lot of good arrangements for the fisher folk and the women who trade in fish. We assisted them with outboard motors, subsidized outboard motors at an affordable price. And we used to give it to them on credit so that they pay over a period of time. We set up landing beach committees that were irrespective of political affiliation. Everybody who was a member of the landing beach committee, it didn't matter what your political coloration was.
Well, incidentally, the NDC chairman, whilst the party's flag bearer was touring Greater Accra, had been cited as a person of interest in recent kidnappings and fire outbreaks in the country. A letter from the Police Criminal Investigations Department inviting Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo stated that some persons picked up for interrogation and investigation mentioned the NDC chairman as part of a grand scheme designed to cause fear and panic in the country. The CID has therefore summoned Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo, asking him to report at the CID headquarters on Thursday, May 9 at 2 p.m. Elsewhere, an Accra High Court has remanded into police custody 7 persons arrested in the Volta region for attempting to declare a breakaway state independent of Ghana. One other accused person, Charles Kujoji, aged 85, was however granted bail to the tune of 250,000 cedis with 2 sureties. The 8 were on Wednesday slapped with charges including that of treason felony. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
The 8 accused persons were arrested in the Volta regional capital of Ho on Sunday and airlifted to Accra. They have been charged with treason felony, abatement of unlawful training, unlawful assembly and offensive conduct. The arrest was effected by a joint police and military team ahead of the planned declaration of independence on Thursday. The 8 accused persons were brought to the law court complex at about 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday. According to state prosecutors, they suspect that these individuals intend to declare the current Volta and Oti regions independent on May 9, for which reason they have been arrested and charges have been preferred against them. The state prosecutors asked that they be remanded into custody, saying that this is not the first time they had served notice of engaging in such a conduct. The 3-member panel of justices of the High Court allowed each of the accused persons the opportunity to say certain things that they wanted the court to be aware of. They informed the court that they had been denied legal representation, they had been denied the opportunity to speak to their lawyers since they were arrested on Sunday, with their communication gadgets also seized, making it impossible for them to contact their lawyers. They therefore asked that the court grant them bail pending a determination of the final case. But this was opposed by the state prosecutors. with the court granting the first accused person, who is aged 85, bail to the tune of 250,000 cedis, with 2 sureties, 1 to be justified. The case has been adjourned to May 22, 2019 for trial to continue. Reporting for Joy News on the Law Court Complex, my name is Joseph Akable.
Now, 30 more persons have been arrested in connection with this particular story, with the attempts by the breakaway, or that faction to break away from Ghana, and we're sharing that with you. So the Volta Regional Police Command has issued this release in connection with that. It says the Volta Regional Police Command has arrested 81 members of the Homeland Study Group Foundation for their involvement in an intended demonstration against the arrest of their leaders. The suspects were arrested per intelligence jointly by the police and military at various entry points to the whole municipality. 54 of the suspects were arrested aboard a bus whilst entering Ho from Flower direction. 17 were arrested in the house of the leader of the group, Charles Komi Kujoji, or Papavi Hogbedeto, near the 66th Artillery Regiment barracks, and 10 were also arrested at other entry points to Ho municipality. All the suspects, including 2 women, are currently assisting police in investigations. The Volta Regional Police Command hereby assures the general public of their safety and urges everyone to remain calm in the face of recent happenings in the region. Again, the general public is encouraged to, at all times, follow due process as spelled out in the Public Order Act. And this is signed by Prince Dogwache, who is a public relations officer for the Volta Region Police Command. The last few days have seen perhaps one of the loudest criticism of a piece of art in recent times. Subjects of the Santehino Tumfo Tutu II especially have not been very enthused about his statue placed at the newly constructed KJTR market in Kumasi. Experts are, however, questioning the basis for such criticism. Amid the controversy, Lava Firm's Kwesi Deborah has decided to take a critical look at the statue and its origin.
On buildings, billboards and in the streets of Kumasi, Utumfo's image never refuses to show up. His 15 feet high, 3-year-old bronze effigy is a jewel of the airport roundabout. The garden city of Kumasi, traditionally adorned with the effigies of past royals, has never seen such banter among residents over an issue as happened on 2nd May 2019. It was at the sword curtain for the phase 2 of the KJTR Central Market Redevelopment Project. A statue of Asantehene Otumfuo II, erected at the new market constructed under the phase 1, was unveiled, and that sparked fierce debate. His face is broad and very nice, but as for this one, it's rough and mangled. It doesn't resemble him.
Look at the entire face, the nose, the lips and the eyes. Nothing shows it's not the king. He really resembles him. Those who are saying it's not him don't know him. When you are coming from afar, it resembles the king. But when you stand beneath, the statue changes.
Brazilian firm contractor subletted erection of the statue to Municipal Chief Executive of Swame and former lecturer in leatherworks at KNUST, Dr. John Osebobie. A team of sculptors led by KNUST sculptor postgraduate Matthew Mate Abuate was called upon to execute the job. He was assisted by Aremeya Sulemana and Saramatu Abdullahi. The Sege Ada native built effigies at the Ratri Park in Kumasi and coat of arms at the Supreme Court complex. Mr. Abuate sculpted animal statues at the Kakum National Park, the bust of the President of the National House of Chiefs, Togbe Afede the 14th. At 19.5 feet, 2 meters in width, and standing on a 6-foot pedestal, the statue is the largest in the country. The work, which took place at the premises and supervised by Dr. Osebobie, started in December last year and is estimated at over 100,000 cedis.
In December 2018, I was there in my studio practicing on some works, and then I got a call from Dr. Osei Bobiebuahin, who is currently the MC for Swami municipality, about a sculpture in honor of Otumfuo Osei II. So I'm very, very much interested because Otumfuo is one of the most respectable kings, not only in Ghana, but in the whole of West Africa and of the world. So hearing of him is something that I was very much interested in, and I decided to work on it. So later we met with a contractor, Brazil, who, after doing this great edifice of the KGTR project, decided to do this statue in honor of Otumfuo Osei II. So they commissioned us as sculptors to do this work in his honor.
Delegations of chiefs from Menchia Palace have, on more than 7 occasions, inspected the project.
So there has been various visits, or delegations of chiefs have been sent from the Menchia Palace. Of course, they have been with Otumfuo, so they will know him far better than us as sculptors. And so they came day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, about 6 times, making sure everything was done. I can remember on the last day when they came to inspect the clay work, there was supposed to be a ring on the middle toe. So one of the chiefs, after inspecting that, he was very much enthused with the work. So he called and said, "Young man, come. I mean, on this leg, there's supposed to be a ring on it. So for Otumfuo, everything is very important."
Critics of the work do have praised the occiput, the cloth and ornaments adorning the statue. Their major concern have been the face. So how is such a colossal art appreciated? A figurine more than 4 times the average human height. Dr. Mante Jektenyako of KNUST Department of Painting and Sculpture says an individual's point of view is crucial in appreciating work of art.
If you look at the picture from underneath, depending on the height, you see it highly elongated. And a statue that you have recommended, you have concurred from the normal eye level, you might think that is not what you actually talk about. In the same way, if you look at it from an angle which is far above, it will be squashed, and so you see the size of the face or the size of the whole thing reducing, and it also distorts the image. So especially if you're looking at a heroic sculpture, either you elevate yourself to a mere eye level of the sculpture itself, or you look at it from a very long distance, let's say about 100-150 meters, and over there you appreciate it so well.
Otumfuo's statue adds to many of such works of art around the globe. The likes of Statue of Unity in India, Martin Luther King Jr. in US, and recently Mahatma Gandhi in Ghana have been subjected to widespread criticism. Already, some are calling for decapitation of the statue. Will chiefs and contractor take back their words, or Ghanaians would have to be taught how to appreciate art? Of course, art will always be art. She sees this, and he sees that. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, if you travel on intracity commercial buses, also known as structural, you would have encountered the conductor or mate, the driver's right-hand man. To most passengers, they are either cheats or irritants. Though it's been mainly a male-dominated role, it turns out some females are taking it up too. Joy News' Philip Ankra caught up with a female conductor and filed this report.
The quest to survive and the urge to augment the efforts by her parents to finance her education and that of her siblings have driven her into a field considered the preserve of men. Meet 17-year-old Abena, a first-year student of the Krobo Girls Senior High School, studying business. she and her boss ply the Kulebu-Mamprobi Kaneshie route. According to her, at a point during her schooling, her father fell ill and her mother lost the funds she was trading with. Life presented a big burden. The poor girl now has to find something to do to make some money for school. After some discussions with a friend, she was introduced to the job of a conductor.
Before I started schooling, I relied on my parents, but along the line, my dad lost his sight and my mom's capital was stolen. My elder brother was also struggling, so I decided to look for a job to support. After discussing with a friend, I chose this.
Pay me 40, 50.
She recounts to me how some passengers relate to her. According to her, some treat her rudely, but the warm reception of her colleague male conductors keeps her going.
Some passengers are rude, but I try to remain calm. The drivers and my colleague conductors are nice to me and I feel loved.
About 20 pesos, 50 pesos. Mates, drivers, PM, almost all of them are good.
And of course, some passengers are surprised she is a conductor.
People are surprised to see a female conductor and wonder why I do this. As for the male conductors, they are amazed at school and still do this job.
If there is one thing she wishes for, this is it.
In future, I have 3 plans.
In future, I want to be a footballer, a soldier, or an accountant.
Unlike Abine's family, which allowed the young woman to toe this path, these people believe bus conducting is not a job they will allow their family member to venture into.
So, sir, would you allow your daughter to be a female conductor?
No, not at my wish at all. I wouldn't. You know, it can. If he's on vacation, either he will be doing part-time learning somewhere, you see, or to find something to do in the house. You know, mates, being a car mate is not a female job. You see, it comprises so many things, and the risks are many.
No, because as for me right now, I'm illiterate, and then I won't just sit there for my sister to go and do a mate or something like that. Even if there is no work for my sister to do, I won't let her come and do a mate.
No. Because there is a lot of risk in it, and women, mostly women, they cannot do such job. It needs energy, and women don't have such energy to do such job.
So the next time you hear a feminine voice calling out your destination, don't be surprised. Females are definitely taking up bus conducting jobs. For Joy News, Philip Ancres report.
The Vice Chairman of Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee, George Duka, is challenging the Jospon Group to go to court over its claims they were unfairly sidestepped as partners to oil exploration firm AGM in the controversial petroleum agreement recently approved by Parliament. Quad Petroleum, a firm set up last month, was selected as local partner in the deal and now owns a 5% stake in the Deepwater Tunnel South oil block despite protests from the minority in Parliament. The Jospon Group, however, petitioned Parliament even before the deal was approved that one of its subsidiaries, Medsongai, should have been the rightful local partner. But Mr. Duka says the courts should be the right forum to address the matter.
Medsongai had an issue with the AGM and even brought up a petition. But I asked a question that if I have an issue, if I have entered into an agreement with you and you go further to, also enter into an agreement with another person without maybe my consent, I need to take you on. Not whatever person, because you owe me a duty of care. The third person wouldn't have that relationship with me.
Dealt with AGM rather than coming to the committee.
Obviously, and if we have court of competent jurisdiction in this country. So if there are issues of, legalities, those things could be, ironed out internally. And I don't see, it's not the mandate of the committee to be, assessing which company is better in terms of the agreement that they independently did. Otherwise, another company that is also having a relationship with Med Songhai will also come and say, yes, I have a relationship with Med Songhai, and they didn't even tell me when they were entering into an agreement with the AGM. Then the chain will be on and on and on and on. Then the floodgate will open. And so we need to be careful as far as the relationship that AGM had with the ministry is concerned.
So just give me a sense, what were the concerns that they raised in their petition, that they should be the local partner and not any other company? Yes,
that they have a relationship with AGM, and they should have been, and their 2% must also be, enshrined.
Happening to bring you the second dose of business with Sandra Fenu. And that's it. I am Israel Aye. You have a good night.